Hello everyone. Got 3 dirty jokes for you today. Once upon a time in a quaint little town, there was a popular pool club where locals would gather to relax, have a few drinks, and engage in friendly banter. Among the regulars at this club were 3 married men who were known to share stories about their lives and constantly complain about their marriages. One sunny afternoon, the trio found themselves seated at their favorite table, nursing their drinks and, as usual, engaging in animated conversation. On this particular day, the topic of discussion turned to their marital woes, and they began arguing over who had the most difficult marriage of them all. The first man took a sip of his beer and said, "I have it the worst, guys. My prudish wife won't sleep with me more than once a month. She absolutely refuses." The other men shook their heads in sympathy. One of them, unable to contain his curiosity, asked, "So, what did you do about it?" With a sly grin, the man replied, "I slept with that horny blonde over there by the pool table. Unlike my wife, she's up for anything." The men laughed heartily at his confession. The second man, not to be outdone, chimed in, "You think that's bad? My uptight wife won't even sleep with me once a year." The other men gasped and shook their heads, and one of them inquired, "So, what did you do about it?" With a smirk, the man replied, "I got my rocks off with that same slutty blonde over there by the pool table. She'll literally do any guy." The men roared with laughter, clinking their glasses together. Then, the third man leaned in and said, "That's too bad for you guys, but honestly, I definitely have it the worst." His friends leaned in, eager to hear his story. They asked, "What's the problem with your wife?" The man sighed and said, "Well, for one, she's always down here playing pool." One day, a woman named Mrs. Terry decided to visit the clinic to address some health concerns she had been experiencing. She was a kind-hearted woman in her 60s, a loving mother of 4 grown children, and a doting grandmother to 7 wonderful grandchildren. As she entered the clinic, she nervously looked around, taking in the sterile environment and the bustling activity of medical staff. She was promptly greeted by a friendly receptionist who guided her to the examination room, where one of the older doctors would attend to her. After a few minutes in the examination room, Mrs. Terry suddenly burst out of the room, screaming at the top of her lungs and running down the hallway. Startled by the commotion, a young doctor rushed to her side, trying to understand what had caused her distress. The younger doctor, full of concern, gently guided Mrs. Terry to a nearby room, helping her sit down and regain her composure. As she caught her breath, she explained the reason for her outburst. Feeling a sense of responsibility and annoyance at his colleague's actions, the younger doctor marched back to the examination room where the older doctor was still busy writing on his clipboard. With a stern look, the young doctor demanded, "What's the matter with you? Mrs. Terry is 63 years old. She has 4 grown children and 7 grandkids, and you told her she was pregnant." The older doctor looked up from his clipboard, a sly grin spreading across his face. "Cured her hiccups though, didn't it?" Once upon a time, a loving couple lived in a small town. The wife, a successful businesswoman, was invited to a prestigious conference in Italy. Excited and a bit nervous about her trip, she and her husband prepared everything carefully, making sure she had everything she needed. On the day of her departure, her husband drove her to the airport. As the sun was setting on the horizon, as they reached the terminal, she turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude and love. "Thank you for your support, honey," she says. "Is there anything special you'd like me to bring back for you from Italy?" Her husband teasingly replies, How about an Italian girl? The wife just shakes her head, not amused by her husband's request, and then boards her flight. When the conference is over, her husband eagerly awaits her return at the airport. As they embrace, he asks, "How was your trip, sweetheart?" "Very good," she replies with a warm smile. "And what happened to my present?" "What present?" she asked him. "The one I asked for an Italian girl." The wife grins and says, "Oh, that. I did the best I could under the circumstances. We'll just have to wait 9 months to see if it's a girl."